Hi everyone, my name is Brian and I'm the 3D print creator. In this episode we're going to talk about the hot end assembly. This is the part in your printer where all the magic happens. And this part I took out of my Vinci Pro printer, and just to show you what it is and how it works. Well, basically it's a drop-in cartridge, which means that you can drop it in your printer and then click it and it will be tightened to your printer. You can see three connectors up here, and the top connector here is for your cooling fan, and your cooling fan does all the cooling for this whole part. This is an aluminum part with a cool rib here, and this does all the cooling. So when the extruder is set too hot, then the cooling fan will cool it down, and there is continue a game going on of making it hotter and cooling it down, making it hotter, cooling it down. But the trick is that it has to be as good as possible at a fairly level of heating. So it has to be the same level of heating all the time, and your cooling fan helps with it. The second connector you see here, the middle connector, this is actually the thing heating this element here. So here you see there is your hot end, and there is a hole in the hot end, and through that hole this part goes, and this is the part heating up. So this thing will actually heat up and make this whole thing so hot that the plastic which is inside here will melt down. Then there is the last outlet here, the bottom outlet, and this one here is for the sensor which is in here, which senses the temperature. So this is a very important part, because this sensor gives you the temperature of your hot end, and this sensor is called a thermistor. So this is what senses the temperature in your hot end. And which is good to know is that there are a lot of different thermistors. You can't just swap out one thermistor for the other, because they got a curve in which the information they give corresponds to a temperature. So if you use some other thermistor, your temperatures can be completely wrong. Then for the inside, you see a PCB mounted here, and this PCB, where the cable is coming in at this side, this PCB does a few things. It controls the temperatures and when to heat or not to heat, but it also senses if filament is coming in. This black piece here, I hope you can see it correct, so this black piece here, this is a switch. And when you go with your filament inside, you can feel it's doing something. You can actually hear it. And this switch, when the filament goes in, this makes it possible to sense when the filament is coming in. And then your extruder or your main board knows how many millimeters the filament has to be pushed in before it reaches the real hot end. And you will see this is a fairly large space it has to travel, because if I pour it out, you see it's this far. So this whole piece here is not heated that much that your filament will melt down. The melting down will only occur here in the hot end, and the rest is cooled so that your filament travels all the way, and only here it will melt. So there is only a small piece of filament melting down. And when you see this, then you also know that when you got a clock, where the clock is, because your filament is pushed in here and it goes all the way down, and this is where the clock is. So this extruder is now got out of my printer because it's clocked, but the problem is in this part. And if you have a problem like this and you want to heaten up your extruder or your hot end to get it unclogged, then you have to know that only this part has to be heated up. And there are a lot of ways to do it. I do it above a gas flame, and then I unclog it. But there are a lot of ways to do it. So this is basically how your extruder works. And because it's a drop-in cartridge, you can also exchange it for another drop-in cartridge. So when this part breaks or fails, then you can exchange it for another drop-in cartridge. And actually a guy on Thingiverse, BD Walker, which goes with the front name Bruce, he made a drop-in cartridge which you can download, this one, and you can print it out, and then you can swap over your PCB board, or you can ask him to make a new PCB board for you. And then this goes in here, and you can place an E3D V6 hot end. So you can run E3D V6 on your printer. And I must say, I'm really impressed with the quality of this drop-in cartridge, which is downloadable from Thingiverse, and I'll show it in a link down below. But to get back to this one, I'm going to unclog this one because I have a problem here and I can't run my my filament all the way down. And also sometimes when you have a problem with getting in your filament, the problem is on this part. Sometimes when you try to pour in your filament and you start noticing a clicking sound from your Bowden extruder, then this is because the filament is going to here and it won't go in. And as you maybe can see as I get it here, it can get stuck here on this part. So then it won't go in nice. The thing you can do for it to get it better is that you can take your filament and take a sharp cutter, and you can make it as sharp as possible. So I'm going to cut it under an angle now. And when that's done and it's brought into your extruder, then most likely it will slide over this part and go in as well. So this is the reason why you have to cut this in an angle, and it's really important to do so, because if you don't, then you can have a problem of inserting your filament just because it doesn't fit inside this switch. So a lot of times people think they have a clock in their extruder, but actually they don't. Actually the real problem is they won't go with their filament inside this switch. And it's fairly difficult to see, but you can see it, because if you look at the back of your printer and you'll see your filament going in, you can see that there is a gap here, and in this gap you can see your filament coming through. So the gap is here at this point, and you can actually see if your filament is coming through or not. It's difficult, but it's possible. So you have to make sure that you really have a clock if your filament isn't passing through and you hear this clicking sound from your extruder. Well, this is it for now. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I like it if you give me a like or a thumbs up. Also share this with your friends who also do 3D printing, so they know how their extruder works. And I would for sure like it if you subscribe to my channel, because then I know who I'm doing it for. Thanks a lot for watching.